Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Davine and I homeschool 4 kids ages 10, 11, 11, and 14. Today I'm going to be talking about our family subjects or group subjects, or basically what we're doing in our homeschool for geography, grammar, and history. If you want to see our morning basket and Bible and Chinese and Michael Clay Thompson's language arts, you'll want to watch my morning basket that I did earlier this week. Next week, I will be covering what my children are doing for their independent work or things more on their level. So that's 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. I'll have 2 videos out next week showing what we've been doing and how we've been enjoying it for this second term. So I have a lot to show you today. I will be linking in the description box links to both the curriculum and individual items that I'm going to be showing you today. So if you're interested in any of those, some will be affiliate links, some will not be. But if you do use my affiliate links, I do appreciate it. It does help support my channel and I make a little bit of coffee money. So I really appreciate it if you use the links. And if you just want to check out something further, of course you can click on it and just see it closer up for yourself. So if you've been around here a while, you will know that I am a curriculum lover. I love a lot of different curriculums and I like to mix and match them and put them together. So I do have help because I am part of what it's called a parent partnership program. So I am able to get some of the books that are secular from our public school system, but anything that is religious or Christian or has a biblical worldview, I do purchase myself. I'm going to be showing you a few different programs that I mushed together, and I will just be talking about our experience with it so far. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is history, and I'm going to give Bookshark level DE an honorable mention. We do really enjoy the readers from Bookshark or Sonlight. They're very similar readers, not a lot of difference in those. My kids do read those readers, so most of them are Bookshark at this point because that is something we get from our parent partnership program. I do often add some more books. If I see something on Sonlight that's not in the Bookshark, I will add it as well. My kids do not have a problem getting through a lot of books, personal reading, in just 20 minutes a day. So generally, if you are looking at the readers for Bookshark DE or Sonlight DE, that's what my children are reading about history during this time. All right, so that is generally what we've done with Bookshark. Between Bookshark and Beautiful Feet books, I have definitely been picking more of the Beautiful Feet books as our spine instead of the Bookshark spine. We are currently reading Lewis and Clark, or the Lewis and Clark Expedition, and that is part of Bookshark DE, but most of what we have done this year has been from Beautiful Feet's Early American History. This is the primary edition, so this is technically for K to 3, and I currently have a 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grader, and it is not too babyish for us at all. We are super enjoying it. So if you're wondering if you're on the line and your kids, maybe you have some younger kids, but then you have some older kids and you're wondering if you should do intermediate or primary, I have not done the intermediate level, but I have really enjoyed this primary. I think my kids are learning so much. So just some of the books that we've gone through since maybe the beginning of the year, since I'm not sure when our term started. We have Squanto's Journey, Benjamin Franklin by the Dallaires, The Courage of Sarah Noble, the 4th of July story, George Washington by the Dallaires, Phoebe the Spy, which is also a book that is recommended in Bookshark, Pilgrim Stories, The Winter at Valley Forge, A More Perfect Union, Jamestown, and I'm pretty sure I talked about these before, Encounter, which was one of the early on, that's about Columbus from the native perspective, Leif the Lucky, which was the first one to do, we did that quite a while ago, and Columbus by the Dallaires. So I really do appreciate Beautiful Feet. To me, it has a view from both the explorers and from the native people. I do appreciate them trying to give both perspectives. It doesn't feel super one-sided, so that is something that I appreciate about Beautiful Feet books. If you've been here since last summer, you will know that I picked up Beautiful Feet's intermediate modern, I think American and modern history And that is definitely a step up from the primary. And I'm sure that once we get to that, we will be ready for that. But I really have enjoyed this more simple history through storybooks type of approach with my kids. And like I said, they're reading tons of readers that have to do with history. And these are just a nice way to introduce history. It's our first time through to introduce American history to my kids. Now, another thing that I do intersperse is this, Usborne's The Encyclopedia of World History. And the reading that I'm doing from this is from that Sonlight B+C. Sonlight B+C or Bookshark B+C is world history. We didn't exactly finish it all, but I decided to start American history once we hit that timeline in world history. And then I just take a break every once in a while and I go from different types of curriculum. So like I have this typed up here. And so we have Bookshark, we have the reader that we should be on. They have the Constitution of the United States and Bill of Rights. I actually skipped that because Beautiful Feet has really good resources about that. Then I was going to do the Sonlight, so this is world history. Then we have Bookshark, the Lewis and Clark expedition, so that's what we're reading right now. And then I'm going to skip into Beautiful Feet, and we're going to be learning about, I think we're going to be learning about young US history, so we're not quite into the time of the Civil War yet, but just maybe Western expansion and stuff like that. And then we will jump into Bookshark, Freedom Train. So that's basically the plan for the next little while. I just have these little bookmark things that I can check off as I go. And so we just took a little bit of time to go through the world history in this encyclopedia. So I think that covers history and what we're doing right now for history. I am enjoying the meshing of the curriculum together. If I had to pick a winner at this point, oh, it's really hard because I do love, like I said, I love the readers from Bookshark and Sonlight. But you can see what they are and you can go and put them in chronological order based on history. But I would pick the Beautiful Feet as the spine and then just pull in those books for my kids on the side. So that's what I would choose if I were choosing now which of these I would like to do for history. Okay, let's talk geography. Now I only have 2 curriculums for geography right now. I know, only 2. Okay, so I am doing Guest Hollow's High School Geography and Cultures. It's World Geography and Cultures. So this is for high school and my kids are upper elementary and middle school at this point. We have been going through this very slowly. There is a lot of resources and things to do in here. We are super enjoying it. Like I just love Guest Hollow curriculum. Basically, they just have so many things to do. They have like an online textbook, which I really like. They have like a few paragraphs and then I'll have a YouTube video and then a few paragraphs. Makes it really easy to keep my kids engaged, even though it is definitely higher level than they're at. It does keep them engaged. And then they have activities. They have different books you can read. They have tons of YouTube videos. I love just putting on a playlist of YouTube videos that have been already looked at and they go along with what we're learning in geography. So definitely recommend Guest Hollow's High School Geography. I didn't pick the junior because my kids, we already did a whole bunch of geography in the past. We did My Father's World, Countries and Cultures. And so I wanted to get a little further, a little more advanced. So I will say though, in planning out doing these, I took all the warnings into account. They do put notes on things that might not be appropriate for younger kids or less mature kids. I definitely cut out anything that I felt like was on the more mature side because my kids are just still young. So I took those into account. We cut out quite a few books based on that. Now, whatever's left has been great. We have been working on this, I would say, since about the middle of term 2 until now, and we are on week 8. So all we have done is basic introduction to like mapping and longitude, latitude, different mapping things like that. And then we did North America. So we did Canada, Greenland, and the USA. And so that is all we've done so far this year. Totally fine. I was hoping to get to South America, but I don't think we'll get to that this year because I have another geography curriculum that I need to get started. But I do plan on finishing this next year with probably all my kids, at the very least with my older 2, and I'm going to be lumping it together with another curriculum, and I'm going to be making that their first high school credit, the rest of this, and adding stuff. And then my boys will just do a lower level of it just for their geography. So a few books that we've been using with this. So this one we went through probably took a few weeks to do this, 50 cities of the USA. And basically they had a few questions on each city and the kids had to find it in this information. That was kind of hard for them. What I did was I split up the 50 cities to my kids so they each got a certain number based on their age. So that went okay. It took a little long for them to find all that information, but it was a good exercise in being persistent and reading things carefully and trying to find information that they needed. We have this Canada year by year. What I decided to do was just put this in a basket because we have a really good Canadian history that I try to incorporate. Once we finish a section, I try to read a little bit about Canadian history and what's happening during that time. So we didn't really need this. I just put that in my basket for my kids to look at. We have Where on Earth Atlas. So this is scheduled throughout. So just depending on what you're studying, it will be assigned a certain number of pages. It is a pretty fun atlas. Lots of little facts. People and Places by D.K. Smithsonian. I do like this book a lot. It's very colorful, beautiful, just talks about different people around the world. So that's a fun one. That's a good one to have if you're doing this course. And this is the younger. So they have suggestions. So there's an older kid one and there's a younger kid one. Definitely picked all the younger kids or the middle school adaptations. We have Hungry Planet. So this is just pictures of what people eat in different parts of the world. And it's kind of like an article about each family. They just talk a little bit about their culture and what they eat in a week. We have Prisoners of Geography. This is also the younger readers edition. Also a very beautiful, colorful book. So the last one that is scheduled throughout is Material World. Very similar to Hungry Planet, but it talks more about what people own. What are all the belongings that people own in different countries. So just get a perspective of what it's like in other countries compared to what it's like where we are. Now I will say, I think both Hungry Planet and Material World are a little bit on the older side, maybe in the 90s. I'm not sure where in the 90s. So it's a little bit on the older side, but it's still a good way to just compare our lives with those around us in other worlds. So there are a ton of other books that are scheduled throughout the course, but those are just the ones that we've been using during this first 8 weeks of the guide. So before I move on, I do want to quickly show, so the online textbook for Guest Hollow's online textbooks, they do have like pages for the kids to fill out. And so what I've been doing with my kids is we just do this together. Once we have finished a lesson in the textbook, we will go through and answer the questions together. So just a way to adapt it for younger kids. Okay, so now for the geography that I've had to stop Guest Hollow for. So we are working on Beautiful Feet Books Geography. It is now called the Clancy Holling Geography because it is all using, this is the first one we're using, Clancy Holling's books to learn about geography. So I'm just going to pull out the maps for a minute here just to show you, but this has been really fun. We basically read about 3 chapters each time, and a chapter is a page. So this story itself is about a boy who creates a little canoe and he places it on top of a snowbank. And when the snow starts to melt, this little guy in the paddle boat starts to travel throughout the Great Lakes and has adventures. So each day you read about 3 pages like that. There's a picture on the other side. And then in this guide, they have a few different activities that you can do. When I first looked at it, I thought that it was a little bit longer than I would like. However, now that we've done it, it's been very easy to cut out like the one thing I didn't want to do, and then I can do the other things and it's very manageable. For like lesson 1, it was read 3 pages, then discuss what the return of the geese signified to the Indian boy. Do some research on Canadian geese, where do they winter? So we just watched a YouTube video, they have one here. Describe how ballast and rudders work. And then they do create a glossary. So we have a notebook that they're answering questions in and writing a glossary. On the map, label and color Lake Nipigon. And so they're going to be using their maps. All right, so these maps are huge. I just have one of those poster boards from Dollar Tree to kind of keep them organized. So my kids can just put them in there. So we have a huge map. So far we've labeled Canada. We've labeled there's Lake Nipigon. We've added a sawmill because we learned about the sawmill. So basically we will be going through and labeling all the places that this guy in the paddle boat goes to and hopefully learn our geography in that way. So that's monstrous maps. Had to find a way to organize those. Okay, finally, let's talk science. So Guest Hollow's Junior Anatomy is what we're using this year. So this is the guide, and this is definitely a lower level than the geography. We didn't get started on this until term 2, and we are currently, I believe, on week 9. So we were able to go through it faster, not saying we should be on week 9, we probably should be on a further week. But I am not doing every book that they suggest. I am just doing a quick overview. There are a few books that I'm definitely using as a spine, like Blood and Guts is the one that I use a lot. And then I have some other books that I'm just putting more in the basket for them to look at if they're interested. And once again, we love the videos that they suggest, the YouTube videos. I have that on a playlist. We watch those when we're eating lunch, things like that. So we've been going through the different systems of the body. They have enjoyed it. So I would say our spine at this point for this guide is Blood and Guts. And this is a very common book that is used throughout homeschool curriculum. It is not a Christian book. It does talk about evolution and things like that. So you do have to be aware when you're talking about that to have conversations with your kids or pre-read to see if there's things you want to adapt. But that is our spine. It does go through all the body parts and body systems and how they work. Another book that I've been using that is not part of the guide that I just happen to have is this Usborne's 100 Things to Know About the Human Body. And what I do is each time we start our science lesson, I just quickly read like a 2-page spread like this. And so that has been fun. We are about maybe 1/3 or 1/4 of the way through that. Just to look at some of the science books that we have been looking at here. So the first one here is Horrible Science, Danger, Blood, Bones, and Body Bits. Now, this one I did read the first time it was assigned, and it's just a little too middle school boy for me and my kids. So I have just put it in the basket for my kids to pick up if they're interested in it. But yeah, not the type of humor that I appreciate. And so not my favorite book. The kids are welcome to read it on their own if they would like. Then they do schedule a few of these books by Fran Bockwell and Mick Roloff. I don't know, there's several of these. So they have The Gene Machine talking about genes and DNA. They have Enjoy Your Cells talking about cells. Have a Nice DNA, so that's more about the DNA. So these are also secular books. They do talk about evolution. You do have to pre-read it if you are a Christian and you have other views. We just talk about things as we go through. So those are some books that we have been reading for our science as part of a spine. I had a few books lying around that I included here. When we started this, we did this one, The Usborne See Inside Your Body with flaps. So lift a flap kind of book. So we have different things here. I did read that as an introduction because I owned it, and so we used it, and now it's in a basket for the kids to look at if they want to. I had this silly book. This is more kind of a silly book for kids. Talks about different parts of the body, kind of a boy starts falling apart. Had that book for a while. I probably had that when I was a teacher. And then we have The Magic School Bus, Inside the Human Body. I did not read this because I don't like to read books that have information all over the place, but if my kids wanted to read it, they could. This is also a book I've had forever. I did go through this with my kids. Actually, my mother-in-law gave me this book, I think, when she was teaching. She had this book, so we went through that since we had it. I do really enjoy, I think I had this book, it's not scheduled, but I do like how these books by Seymour Simon talks about the different parts of the human body. So, and it gets really close-up images. So we read this, even though it wasn't scheduled, because I did own it and it was perfect. And one that was scheduled is this, Muscles, by the same author. So very interesting, really quick read, basic introduction to muscles. So those are two good books. And then we had this book that I read through because it was short. I am basically skipping some of the books that are really long and aren't what I would consider a spine book. So that was a good book here. And then this is one that I decided not to read because it's just a lot of information. So I don't think it is vital for an introduction to the human body. So How to Be a Genius. Things like this I might schedule in the future when my kids are older, maybe they're in high school, as part of a credit. I do have some books that they suggested for this for middle schoolers that I got, but I decided not to use because my kids aren't super interested in the human body. And so I'm just trying to do a basic level overview for them at this point. These are books I might put on a list to see if I want to use in the future for a higher level credit if they're doing biology or human anatomy or something like that. So that is why I decided on not doing some of the books, but I really do like the picture books. They just really help explain what we're talking about. So I would say for each week in the junior anatomy, we only do 2 or 3 classes to cover what we need to cover. So, but in each week, it's usually 2 weeks for one body system. So the nervous system would probably be 2 weeks. So that's like 4 lessons. And we don't do that like in a week. We rotate through our group subjects and family subjects. I don't do everything every day. I usually try to do two of these a day, but they're very short, like 20 minutes per thing at the most. We just work better with short lessons, which is part of the Charlotte Mason method, and with ADHD in our home, just short, quick lessons is what works best for us. So instead of doing 1 hour or 40 minutes of one subject, we will do 2 subjects, but we will just make them 20 minute. We get as far as we can and we continue the next time we hit that subject. So something like this science, we would complete 2 weeks of work in about 4 lessons, and that could spread out over a month if we're not doing science that often. I just try to prioritize what I want to finish by the end of the year, and so I just kind of rotate through things however I feel is going to work best in our homeschool. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about any of these curriculum, of course, feel free to tell me in the comment box below. What are you doing for your family subjects this year? Do you have family subjects? And what are you doing in your family subjects or group subjects this year? If not, what are you doing for your children for science, geography, and history? I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget, next week I'm going to have my 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th graders curriculum, independent work, and things like that coming up. So stick around if that's something you're interested in seeing. Hope to see you later. Goodbye, everyone.
Today's video is brought to you by Calm in the Chaos Prints, my Etsy shop. I am going to be having a 30% off sale from March 10th to the 27th of this year, 2023. Getting ready for homeschool sale. I will have all my homeschool planners on sale, as well as these kids' visual charts. So these are some of my most popular planners. I'm just going to give you a look here. It is based on a Charlotte Mason type style, so there's some things like that, but as you can see, there's unit planners, there's term overviews by week, there's different ways to write out what you're planning on doing, daily planners if you like that, to create a schedule, yearly field trip overviews. Then we have these monthly overviews where you can write down different things that are happening each month. And then just a little more here, different pages that you would get with this planner. This is a very popular one that I have. And then let's take a look at this kids visual schedule. This is another one of my best sellers. So if you have younger kids who need to know what's happening, when things are happening, you can get one of these. And then it comes with a whole bunch of different charts so you can rearrange and organize their day. So there's different ones. There's one a little more compact, and then there's ones that have just a little more space. And it's great for kids that need to know what's happening next. So all you would have to do is get some little Velcro little tabs, which I think you can pick up pretty readily. and just put Velcro on the back, and then you can rearrange these based on each day. Thanks for checking out my shop.